Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. It's time some wrestling to piss me off. Redux Part 10, where I'm just going to talk about more things that piss me off, hence the title. Geez, I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out. If you're a new subscriber to this show, it's a redux of a series that I did 2 years ago. 2 years ago around this time. I think I might have started actually about 2 years ago around this time, and I did 7 parts before and then took a break for WrestleMania season, and now I'm continuing on with this. So I'm recording these sometime in mid-April, so I don't know when these are going to go up. They'll go up in between my various Raw, SmackDown reviews, New Japan reviews, and that kind of stuff. But by the time Money in the Bank in June, I think that's happening in June. By the time that happens in June, most of these shows will probably be up, and any other shows I'm going to record, I'll just record after SummerSlam. So anyway, here we go. Triple H and Roman Reigns main eventing WrestleMania 32. Sweet bleeding good God, this was terrible. I mean, I don't know what in the world else to say. I did a review with one of my best friends. Her husband actually sat in on the review, and this was back when I was on Ustream, so you'll forgive if the video is a little bit glitchy. But it was a 51-minute review, and admittedly, we probably could have cut some of it out. But I remember just being horrified by how terrible this match was. And look, WrestleMania 32 was too long as it was. It wasn't a very good WrestleMania. I mean, the women's 3-way was a great match. The 7-way ladder match was pretty good. There were a couple other matches that weren't too bad. But boy, by the time you got to this point, I mean, I think this was just soon after The Rock had done that whole big entrance with the flamethrower and then beat Eric Rowan and buried him in like 6 seconds, which was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But they were trying to make Reigns the guy. This was going to be the second straight WrestleMania main event that he had. The second of 4, unfortunately. Triple H as a champion was just a stopping point. But they'd already ruined the whole build of like Reigns being the champion finally. At this point, if they kept screwing him out of the title, and then finally he had gotten the title here, I still don't think it would have worked. I think a lot of fans would have booed because they would have realized, hey, Daniel Bryan had just had to retire 2 months before this, or just about 2 months before this. Roman Reigns is not Daniel Bryan. That's unfortunately what they tried to do. They tried to make it an underdog story, and it didn't really work. Sure, he had a spear spot with Stephanie, and you had Triple H try his best. And I'm not even a big Triple H fan, but he couldn't get a good match out of Roman Reigns here. Nobody could. Roman Reigns couldn't have gotten a good match out of anybody else here. It was not good. It was too long. It was like 27 minutes. Maybe that was including entrances. Maybe the entrances made it 40 minutes. The bottom line is, this was really, really bad. I mean, this was explosively bad. One of the worst WrestleMania main events ever. Maybe actually the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match from 34 actually eclipses it. It's just how bad it was. But this was really, really terrible, especially for the length of the match. And they tried. And look, I give them credit for trying, but this match should have been about half of what it was. Because it didn't need to be a super long match. Because we all knew the Roman Reigns was going over. At least that's that's obviously what we thought for WrestleMania 34, and that didn't happen. By the way, check out the review of WrestleMania 34 whenever this goes up if you want to help push the views of that. As of this recording, it's about 1,450 views, I think, which is the most views I've ever had on a wrestling review. Actually, I think any kind of wrestling video. The only other video that's done more that wasn't a tribute show was my Super Bowl 50 Fixed Fairy Tale thing when I was still on Ustream. So I don't know how many people are going to go back and watch that, though I find it kind of funny. But I find it kind of funny that that's the one that got almost 3,000 views. My other videos do pretty well. But anyway, the whole point, a big shout out to Dur, by the way, for that. But this was one of the worst WrestleMania main events I've seen. And it was unnecessary because we all knew that Roman Reigns was going to win. Then he got popped for a wellness violation a couple months later, which look, he owed up to. Things happened. I'm not going to bury that. But this was a really bad WrestleMania main event. If people liked it, that's fine. That's cool. I just don't see how the vast majority of people could have liked it. Now we move on to Adam Pacman Jones as the TNA Tag Champion. And yes, this is back when it was called TNA, so that's what I'm going to call it. because this was back in 2007, and it was really, really bad. The fact that he was a disgraced football player that had shot up a strip club or had done stuff where shots were fired and somebody ended up, I believe, paralyzed. Oh, but he's going to make it rain by throwing money. It's like, if you wanted to be a goddamn celebrity, you should have gone to hip hop or something like that and not gone into the NFL, which I'm not saying the NFL is a super clean sport. It's not. But if you're going to represent that brand and do this, then you deserve to get canned. And I think he was suspended by, I want to say it was the Titans at the time. I think he was playing for the Titans. And he's suspended for that upcoming season. But they also had him under contract. So even though he was able to go to TNA and do some stuff with him, he wasn't able to have, and no one could touch him. He couldn't do moves. He couldn't do anything physical. Because it would damage his contract with the team and that kind of stuff and whatever. So what'd they do? Him and Truth end up becoming, him and Ron Killings, actually, who would be, Ron the Truth Killings is actually, I believe, what his full name was at that point, became the TNA World Tag Team Champions, and that was at No Surrender 2007. 2007, because I can talk. But Pacman couldn't wrestle. So any other matches that they had, like if they had any kind of tag match on Spike for the brief time until they got rid of this whole thing, he could run around the ring and pretend and then tag Killings out. And it was a fake out shit. And then, the guy was a prick anyway. He just struck me as a prick. I mean, look, people say, oh, mistakes happen. People grow up from them. Yeah, a lot of people make mistakes that don't involve shooting up a strip club or causing injury to anybody in a strip club and being a jerk about it. And causing injury to somebody. I mean, yeah, that's not a mistake. That's just being a criminal. No matter who you are. That's pretty fucking pathetic. But anyway, Pacman Jones, they go to Bound for Glory where Pacman Jones can't wrestle. Since they're on pay-per-view, I guess they wanted to do something where it's like, okay, well, they can't have Pacman Jones wrestle. Who are they going to have? They've decided to have a wrestler by the name of Consequences Creed come in, who you guys might know as Xavier Woods right now. Even though he had a pretty good run in TNA Impact Wrestling, him and Jay Lethal were a hell of a tag team, by the way. I should clarify that. But he was there, and he was just there to take the pin, and that's what happened. And that, I think, was one of the last appearances that Ron Killings had, at least on pay-per-view. I don't know if he was on another pay-per-view after that. He was gone from the company soon after, and actually has been with WWE since August or September of 2008. So it's been almost 10 years. Hard to believe. But just Pacman Jones as tag champion was ridiculous. It's shit on the legacy and the great building legacy they had done with the tag team championships. Me and TNA as a company. They had some stellar tag team matches and some stellar tag teams at that point. Just some great long-reigning tag team champions. A feud with Triple X and AMW, America's Most Wanted. With Styles, Daniels teaming up against LAX. With other teams. I mean, obviously, they're playing the Naturals. Naturals often get forgotten about. That pisses me off. The Naturals are forgotten about. Because they were a hell of a tag team. Hell of a tag team. I don't know if they're still teaming up on the indies. I don't know. I honestly don't necessarily care. I mean, it's their lives, not mine. But the fact that Pacman Jones was made tag team champion, it wasn't as bad as Arquette being world champion. And it's not knocking Arquette. But I'm just saying that was at least a tag title where they could kind of build stuff up. But they had such a legacy build of great tag team wrestlers and great tag team feuds and everything that it took a bit. It's like it was, I believe, AJ Styles and Tyson Tomko, or AJ Styles and Tomko won the tag titles. And it took them winning them and then losing them in a bit to build the whole thing back up. Because that's how much of a stain Pacman Jones put on the tag titles. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. So Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair main eventing WCW pay-per-views in 1999 and 2000. Now, I know that there was creative control clauses and that kind of stuff, and you gave carte blanche to a lot of the main event guys, and the guys had done really well and drawn a whole bunch of money years before. But the problem is they were doing the same damn things that they had been doing for years. Now, Flair still had plenty left in the tank. Hogan, you could argue, was gassed before his heel turn, and his heel turn basically just hid the fact that he was gassed. Like, he could do he could do the heel stuff as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but he couldn't really work anymore. I mean, he could work a little bit better because he took a lot of the weight off, not because of steroid abuse, because Hogan would never have done that ever at all. Hogan, you lying sack of shit. Not that Hogan was the only one that did steroids, it's just the fact that he lied about it. He shouldn't lie about that bullshit. I mean, whatever. Anyway, that's another story, but just the fact that, and this is pretty much from later 98, because, like, you had the whole thing where Goldberg got screwed over, and Goldberg had been the guy and had been the champion, and okay, maybe he wasn't delivering 5-star matches, except his match with DDP was, Halloween Havoc 98 was at least 4 stars. His match with Nash, Starrcade in 98, certainly, 98, I almost said 2008. 98 certainly wasn't bad except for the finish. But from there, you're suddenly having Hogan and Flair in main event feuds again, and over titles and this kind of stuff. And I mean, I think they had a first blood barbed wire cage match at Uncensored 99, where Flair was the president for life. Flair had basically, after getting the company back from Eric Bischoff in storyline, had basically gone completely insane being in charge. But yeah, it was a first blood barbed wire cage match. I was on my Uncensored history series, which I did last year, which, by the way, feel free to check that out. I really enjoyed doing those, by the way. Like, that was actually a whole lot of fun. In fact, check out my complete WCW pay-per-view history series if you want short reviews on various stuff, on various pay-per-views and some angles and this kind of stuff. And I will be doing the Clash of Champions reviews at some point. I already did the first one. And I'll do the second one, which I think was in late May, early June. And I'll just keep going with those, and I'll just keep having fun. So I really do appreciate, by the way, just a little quick side note. Really do appreciate everybody for supporting my channel. As of the recording of this, I'm at 88,000 views. By the time I leave, by the time I leave, hell, by the time I leave YouTube, I could have over 1 million views. I don't know. By the time I put this video up, is what I was trying to say. I could already have hit 100,000 views. I will be planning, but just in case I'm not, I'm going to do a possible questions for me special, or a 100,000 views live stream, and just thank everybody, and basically that everybody that wants to sit in on it, join in on it or whatever, and ask me questions or have general discussions, we can. So I thought that would be kind of fun. But anyway, just the mere fact that Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair were main eventing all these pay-per-views, and you had all these great talents that were being held down. I mean, sure, DDP was no spring chicken, I mean, as far as his age and stuff like that, but the guy had a few world title reigns where I don't think he successfully defended it on pay-per-view. That's how short his title reigns were. And he gave it to Randy Savage later in 99, but then Hogan beat him the next day. And they had Hogan and Nash main eventing pay-per-views. The bottom line is, you did not need to have this stuff happen. You needed to have a changing of the guard, and they didn't. That's what was abysmal. And that's what I fucking hated about it. I fucking hated this shit. It was absolutely terrible. Now we move on to another thing that I fucking hated. Authority dominance on TV. Authority, Triple H, Stephanie, Kane, Seth Rollins at a time when he was there. Big Show is even a part of the Authority. Sheamus was part of the Authority. Noble, Mercury, and I mean, I'm not knocking the talent involved, but just, it was the same damn thing, like from right after SummerSlam 2013. That TV all the way through to like fall of 2014, it was the same thing. And then you still had the Authority on there even after a month being removed from TV, or about a month. And you still had that in 2015 and 2016, and it's like, now it's still kind of the same damn thing. We don't need so many. If you have heel Authority figures make appearances here and there, then it has more punch. Jim Cornette said best, "How can I miss you if you won't go away?" And hence why I'm wearing that t-shirt. And by the way, this was my face when Flair and Hogan were main eventing, even being part of Impact Wrestling pay-per-views. So that's pretty ridiculous. But anyway, The whole thing with this is it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous just how often the Authority was on TV, and it's like, okay, TV was not good. Not good at all. There were times in 2013 I took breaks. I wouldn't watch it. Like, I wouldn't watch it for like a week or two. I would ask my friends, because at the time I was watching it on the West Coast feed instead of the East Coast. I would say, is it worth staying up for? Because often I'd have to work pretty early on Mondays. And they'd say, no. I even did that in 2015. Like later 2015. Well, I mean, actually, no, I think it was later 2014. I don't know about 2015. But the whole point is until I started actually reviewing Raw every single week, from like 2016 on, like, and the tradition has kept going. Well, I mean, especially Raw. SmackDown, I didn't start reviewing every single week until later in 2016. It got boring because it was the same bullshit over and over and over, and it was not what's best for business. Now, look, Vince has the final say. Vince was probably the one saying, yeah, you need to go out there and be that way, pal. But it was just bad TV. Like, nobody got over at all. It was pathetic. It was rotten. It was terribly rotten. Might do a 5-year reflection on the whole thing of like the Authority starting on TV right after SummerSlam 2013. Because God, wouldn't that just be fun to do? Anyway, finishing up with the topic of John Laurenitis. Guy's a fucking prick. Loud, suit-wearing, moronic prick that doesn't recognize talents. Doesn't recognize women that are attractive. As evidenced by the fact he's dating the Bella, or married to the Bella's mom, I believe. And I mean, sorry, you guys can like the Bellas all you want. I'm just saying, I just never, to me, their mom just strikes me as, you know, a blonde doofus. But this is really just a way for me to rip on John Laurenitis. John Laurenitis is a piece of shit. Told, and it's pretty obvious, even though he wasn't named in the book, that he was being talked about when he said that AJ Lee was unfuckable. Like, anybody with half a brain would ever want to fuck John Laurenitis. Johnny Ace, oh, he was super over in Japan. Well, you know what? I mean, Japan's a great country, but they sometimes don't recognize the best talent. Sorry, John Laurenitis was shit. Shit worker, shit talker. Sure, was it fun to boo the guy, and was it fun to watch him get beat up on TV? Sure. But John Laurenitis is a piece of shit. He is a piece of shit. He doesn't recognize talent. He's not any good at it. And the fact that him and Jim Cornette butted heads, probably because Laurenitis hated the fact that, you know, going all the way back to the Dynamic Dudes Midnight Express feud, where it's like nobody would defend Johnny Ace, you know, John Laurenitis, because he wasn't any good. Like, poor Shane Douglas got stuck with a whole lot of bad people in his career. And I'm not even the biggest Shane Douglas fan, but boy, he had to carry a lot of really sluggish talents in the ring. His tag team partners or otherwise. But just watching John Laurenitis, I am Mr. Excitement. Like, he always sounded like that. It's like sounded like he smoked about like 3 packs of Pall Malls like per day for like 20 years. I don't know if the guy had any health issues. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's how he always talked. But watching that guy try to wrestle, he couldn't wrestle. Talk, he couldn't talk. I know there were some people that enjoyed his character, and that's fine. But the guy shouldn't be, I mean, he's a suck of brown noser, that's why he has a job, which him and Terry Taylor should actually get along pretty damn well, because that's all Terry Taylor became, because he pissed away all his money and couldn't get over the whole Red Rooster gimmick. But John Laurinaitis can't stand the guy. Can't stand the guy, disingenuous prick. I would hope that somebody would eventually slap him in the face with something. And I mean somebody that works in WWE and just says, you know what, it's my last day. Slap. Because that's what the guy deserves, especially for how he treated the women. Like how he treated the women, how he acted towards women, especially AJ Lee and others. That's ridiculous. Not any good at putting together television shows, doesn't recognize talent. What else do you want me to say? Anyway, that's what I gotta say. Agree, disagree with what I say, like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.